Greetings, geography students. This is going to be your tutorial and Edpuzzle video for how to interact with our NatGeo Mapmaker. We talked about this in class recently and showed you how to use it. This is going to be a more step-to-step to how to use other features using the NatGeo Mapmaker, which will also be used for a later assignment that will be graded. So you want to make sure that you are comfortable and confident in using this really cool tool. So first and foremost, just to search for it, NatGeo, Mapmaker, one word, Mapmaker, and you will get that specific website and click on it to open up the program. So this is one of our GIS tools, our geographic information systems, that allows us to take data that has been gathered all over the globe from geographers to use these technologies to then communicate to us what is happening on the Earth's surface. And so, first and foremost, again, just make sure you are at the correct website. It's a good one to bookmark so that you have it for later. We have used some of these features already in a previous class, but in case you missed that, I'll go over those as well. It's good to know that you can click and drag around the whole globe, and you can see, how this map is laid out specifically to kind of get yourself comfortable for where you're looking for certain places. I think it's great to just always orient yourself right here with the United States, since we're most familiar with that, of course. You also have your plus button, which allows you to zoom in and get really close to specific areas. For example, Denver. And then you also have your minus button, which will allow you to back up and get a larger view of the Earth using this map. Then the other tool we have right here is actually going to allow us to draw a line from one point to another. So I can do Salt Lake City to Denver. So I click it, and then I am able to measure to Denver. And as you can see, there's a number that's calculating right there for me that tells me how many kilometers of distance is actually taking place as I scroll across this feature right here. And if I want to know that exact measurement, I would click it again to finish my line. And then I have my point of distance right there. And as you can see, all the numbers are changing. This is taking a measurement to scale of the actual distance from where I am clicking and where I'm going to. So I can actually still stay click to Denver and even click further now to know my new distance to Dallas as well. I can finish that, or I can delete last points, or I can cancel the whole measurement using this scale line tool altogether. I'm going to go ahead and just delete last point so you can see how I can do that and backtrack altogether or cancel altogether. And then I go back to my usual cursor tool. Some of the other tools here are allowing us to kind of see area by getting a shape to go around that entire area. So click to start drawing shape is what it says. So I'm going to click and click to start drawing shape, click. And as I do this, I am using pretty much the same line system that I used last time. The only difference here is that it is not doing a measurement as of right now. It is only allowing me to create pretty much a boundary. And then I can finish that. And then there I have an area that is marked off for me to pay attention to and to note that it's an area that maybe I'm trying to study. I'm trying to compare it to maybe another piece of land as well. So that feature is for more interesting shapes. When I go back to this, I can also cancel what I'm using when I have it pulled open. But if I want to delete something, I need to go to the trash can since I'm already out of that feature. And I can click on the feature I want to remove now that the trash can is open. Click, and it's gone. And I can save that as an option, or I can cancel it to bring it back in case I made a mistake. But now it's gone. Here we can do a rectangle. So click and drag to draw a rectangle. So click and then drag. So I'm holding down my left mouse button, tab button for you guys. And then I have that shape there as well, okay? When I am trying to think if there's something else I need to see over here, not yet. When I'm using this feature, again, I can see it, I can delete it, click on what I want to get rid of, and save. I can also do this for circles. So click and drag, And then I can also delete it as well. So those are ways to kind of mark off areas and boundaries. Then we also have ways to draw a marker. So to leave like a pinpoint, a flag to identify a very specific location. This is cool because you can actually have multiple symbols all around your map to really tell a story and to show the relationship of certain places depending on how you mark them. So works similar as another one. So if I want just to do a regular one, I would click the pin drop, put it where I want it, and then it's there. And it's there until I do the usual thing, which would be delete it, unless I want to keep it. Click and save. Then I also have a text box feature. So, for example, if I wanted to keep that marker, so going back here and a text box, I can label this as my home. And then it's labeled my home right here. And as everything else went, I can click and delete things and save. There are other features down here, which I actually like to start with, to be honest, to turn on. So I have country facts and flags. I'm going to zoom out so that I'm not just within inside the United States, but so that we can see other multiple countries. And right now you can see that there's borders. You can see that there's some labeling of the oceans and the continents, but not really specific to like what are the names of these countries. And so if I click on this symbol here for country flags and facts, I can turn and learn about a country on the map by selecting it. So I can turn this feature on here. And now I can see the borders of my countries a little bit more defined. And when I zoom in, I should be able to see that too. The color and transparency is pretty much where I want it to stay for now. But when I get into here and I click on Brazil, it gives me more information that I can learn about an overview of Brazil if I wanted to read it, along with quick facts. So what is its exact area? What is its full name? The region, its religion, so cultural aspects, language, population, growth rate, literacy rate, lots of things that we'll be learning about in the upcoming lessons. So again, I can click on any state when I have that country facts selected, and I can just get a good overview of any country, including its more specific information that geographers really like to use when studying a place for both physical and human systems. Another feature I like to turn on right away is my lines of latitude, which run parallel with the equator, and my lines of longitude, which run from the north to south poles. And so when I have those on, it is just a little bit easier to kind of show my absolute location of a specific place as I'm pinpointing things. Okay, another thing to know is that as I'm moving my cursor around, and as I was talking about absolute location, I can also notice that up here in the far right-hand corner, I am seeing these coordinates as they are changing depending on where my cursor is. So again, I can find like an absolute location of any point on Earth, even without being aligned to those lines of latitude and longitude. You can see that up here, these numbers are going to be moving to show us how north we are above the equator for the lines of latitude. See, I'm going up higher in the numbers. So if I want to go to the equator, I would go towards 0. So 0 latitude right now, if you take a look at that upper right-hand corner. And as I move north upwards towards the North Pole, the number increases for the line of latitude, right? And same thing if I go back to the equator and I move down from there, it's actually going to grow, but in negative numbers because we are going towards the South Pole this time. Now for our line of longitude, we want to find, and I'm pretty much there, our prime meridian. So it's right here. You can see the equator and the prime meridian. They actually meet at 0 and 0. So the equator is running west to east, and the prime meridian is running north to south. When I move west of the prime meridian, my number decreases for longitude. And negative, I should say. So it's increasing, but with a negative number. And then as I move east of the prime meridian, it increases but staying positive numbers. And so those 2 pinpoints give me my absolute location of lines of latitude and longitude. Okay, another feature to point out with our NatGeo Mapmaker is that there are base maps already built in here. So we are currently looking at the regular traditional NatGeo Mapmaker. It shows us some information about the land cover. So white we can assume is, ice, cold, tundra, right? The darker the green, maybe the more vegetation is growing there. We can see major bodies of water as well in some instances when we really zoom in, such as oceans. You can even see like the shape of the seafloor. And then you can also see your country names. So taking a look at Cuba here, and we can also see their cities and major capitals with the stars. So the stars have capitals, the dots are major cities. And zooming back out, you see less specific detail, but still you see with this specific layer more of a landscape overlay. Here's gray. This is more appropriate for political boundaries. So I can see the actual, real separation from one country to another. I lose a lot of the detail for what's actually located in those political boundaries, but it allows us to really see the separation of countries with the gray. The ocean emphasizes exactly that. So going to the bottom of the ocean floor, you can kind of see a little bit more when it comes to depth here, and any ridges and fault lines that might be here, basins. And then we have terrain. This is going to be a little more topical, allowing us to see elevation above sea level just as far as like mountain ranges compared to plains and flat ranges. So it's a little bit more 3D looking, but loses a lot of definition from the ocean. There's no longer like those major political boundaries, except for just seeing the separation of countries. And then streets. So it gets a little bit more interesting the closer you get to a location here. So this is if you really want to find specific routes for travel. So here we see our interstates, the highways that go in between countries. So I-25, I-70, those go in between, countries in between states, interstates. And then you can also see the local highways as you zoom in and specific streets. So this one's good for finding exact location. And then we have satellite. This is the fun one to look at for sure. So you can see more of that satellite view of a remote imaging taking from the Earth's surface to see exactly like what is actually there on the Earth's surface. And you can even see houses and buildings, parks, rivers, lakes, more true to what you would actually see if you were to go to this location in person, but from an aerial view. And then here we have topo, which is going to be really detailed with more specific areas and their features that they have in their like local neighborhoods. Again, getting a pretty good read of, just how to get from one place to another, what to expect when you get there, whether it's a neighborhood or whether it's a national park. You get more, again, 3D elevation information as well. Okay, and before I get into going back to the layers, which we've already studied about, I'm going to go back to just the traditional NatGeo map layer look, where you kind of get a little bit of everything, zooming out. And I just want to let you know that you can actually create different maps and you can save them so that you can go back to them later. It gives you a link. And so once you find something and you have all your little symbols on there, you would want to save that so that you can review it for later. You can also bookmark certain things so that you can actually flip between maps, and knowing that the different layers that you've chosen, you can kind of go back and forth without always having to click on them. But for our purpose for our lesson and our assignment that we're going to take later today, we want to look at the layers features again. And when we add a layer, we're adding imagery that has been taken from remote sensing, satellite services, and just lots of technological communication using all the GIS programming to be able then to create this interface that allows us to layer things basically, right? all the different features that we would want to study about the Earth surface as far as human systems and physical systems. Here are our major categories. Sometimes you don't really know what's in them. In fact, we did a lesson the other day where one of our items had been removed. So that was interesting. So you always have to just be willing to take the time and to click and to see like actually what is there, because here I clicked on water, but yet it says land cover. Maybe I wouldn't have thought of that specifically. I might have only been thinking of Earth systems. So again, just if you're not sure what is in each of these categories and you know you're looking for something specific, you may have to take the time and click through them all in order to find what it is exactly that you want. The other thing about this section is that they do give you information. So here we have hydroelectric energy. Maybe I don't know what that is. If I use this drop down menu right here, I can get more information specifically about what does this layer add? What do they mean about hydroelectric energy? What do they mean about ocean surface currents? So using this drop down menu right here allows us to just read more details about these specific layers. When I want to add a detail, I would need to click its plus sign to add it to my map. So once I've clicked the plus sign, it says that it's added, because my only other option now would be to remove it, which would be to subtract or use the minus sign, right? So if I don't want this layer, I could subtract it. Let's just start with land cover to keep it simple. So land cover, I'm going to turn it on and I'm going to minimize this window or remove it for now, close it. And now I can see that I have a land cover layer. It looks different than what it did before. And with all of my layers, I can also change the transparency, so how visible they are going to be on top of my map. I can make them darker so that I get real definition of that specific layer, or I can, minimize that depth and detail to make it more transparent so I can see the background of the traditional map, so I can see location of places and names. And I can even remove it all together, but still having it here ready to use at any point in time. And if I zoom out, we can see what that looks like with the whole world. So I can make that layer very dark, or I can get rid of it altogether. Also, just notice that this is a wrapped layer or a wrapped map feature, so that it kind of goes around in a circle. So if you see duplicates of a certain continent, your eyes are not tricking you. Okay, so the other thing is, once you have a feature of a layer on, some of these layers come with specific coloring or symbols that you may not know what they mean. So if they have a legend, all you need to do is click on legend and it will tell you exactly what the colors mean for that specific layer that you're using. So again, it's a little bit easier if I'm zoomed into a location for the most part. But here I can see that we have woodland areas, we have deciduous broadleaf forests as we go down like further in these areas. We have deciduous needle-leaf forests, lots of just different types of area. We have croplands in the middle. We have bare ground, more desert-like even, right? And so it is important that if you use a layer, just check to see if there's a legend here so that you can get more information about it so that you can use it in your descriptions. Okay, so what happens if I want to look at more than just one layer? I want to understand more about the human and physical systems in a specific location so that I can, use my tools of geography and then my skills to understand the relationships of what's happening on Earth. I would go to my layers and I would add a layer. And maybe I want to know what kind of animals live specifically in some of those where we were earlier with the land cover features. Maybe some animals live in certain land cover areas, whereas other ones don't. So I'm going to go ahead and go to animal ranges. And maybe I am curious to see where the current giant panda lives. So I'm going to keep my land cover on and I'm going to add the current giant panda. And I could do multiple animals if I want to. I'm going to minimize and actually reduce just the darkness, making it more transparent of the land cover. And I'm gonna really make the current giant panda fully visible. Here we can see that the United States does not have a current giant panda population because it doesn't have the yellow color, which would be that color we're looking for here. It does give us that key. And I'm just gonna zoom out until I start to see some of that yellow. And if I look super carefully, looks like I find some over here in parts of Asia. which I'm not surprised. Kind of was expecting that, right? Doesn't mean there aren't zoos and whatnot, but they're talking about, living more in the wild naturally. And here we can see in China specifically, if we really wanted to, we could find the current giant panda. And what kind of land cover does this panda like? So I may minimize that, knowing that's where my current giant panda is. I could also use my feature to draw like where I saw it. So I could click, click, click. So if I wanted to make this fully transparent so I can see my area, I can really investigate what kind of land cover that the current giant panda prefers to live in. And here it looks like kind of mixed forest, deciduous, broadleaf forest, so definitely forest areas. And then there's probably other factors that are going to go into it. So that would be, more information. Maybe I go back for layers to see what type of precipitation it gets there. Like what's the human population there? Is it, more urban or rural, depending on the type of economy that's going on around that area. But now I've located my panda area. I could label it. Pandas live here. And there I am learning more about China. So that's how we use this NatGeo Mapmaker interactive GIS tool. There's a lot to learn here. I can also minimize and completely remove these layers, keeping certain features that I want, but not having those layers. And now I can investigate other things about that area if I really want to learn more about the location of where pandas live. I can save this page, giving it a title, a description, my email address, and I will get a link sent to me so that I can use that same link to bring back this exact same information. I can also bookmark this. So first I'd have to save it and then I could bookmark it is what it's telling me. So I'd save it and then I would be able to make a bookmark and then I can make different types of maps that I could turn from pages to pages. I don't think we'll need to use that feature. So hopefully you watch this video. Hopefully you've done well enough on the Edpuzzle that I'm about to create to go with this video. And then there'll be some time to kind of play around during asynchronous well with a smaller task. But during our class today, after viewing this video, there will be an actual assignment in which you are challenged to find the most ideal location for a specific type of venue using this tool, using this GIS map maker from National Geographic. And you'll have to use the layers to really prove and bring evidence from reading these maps and getting all of this information as to why your location that you choose is best for the venue. So again, that's what we're going to do later in class. So in our next activity for asynchronous, make sure you actually practice using this tool so that you're more prepared later on in class. And if you have any questions, bring those to class with you too.